right, Superhumans, welcome. And I'm going to be teaching a little bit today about motivation because as superhumans, as individuals that are driven and motivated to be more, do more, achieve more, one of the fallacies that we need to understand and move past is that you cannot control your motivation or that you must wait to be motivated. I think that is one of the most limiting mindsets that you can possibly have. And if that's or if that has been the truth for you, then today we need to squash that and we need to move past it. And what I'm wanting you to get out of today is obviously a formula and a system for you to control your motivation moving forward. If you know how to trigger yourself into action, if you can control how you show up, how you approach any goal, any task, mentally, emotionally, and strategically, you are going to win. You're going to be better for it. And at the end of the day, if you are here to optimize every part of your life, body, mind, career, everything in between, then it really starts here. It starts with owning your motivation and owning how you show up around your goals. So why does this matter? It matters because most people treat motivation like a mood, which it is not. It can absolutely be activated, be controlled, be manipulated so it works for you. Again, imagine if every time, all those moments in your life from the past where you couldn't be bothered, where you were waiting, where you were not feeling up to it, where you didn't feel like doing the thing that you know you needed to do. What if in all those moments you actually did the thing anyway and you did it in flow, you did it with a level of energy that got the job done? How different would your life be? Well, the answer should be very freaking different, because if we always showed up like that, imagine the results we would get. And again, this is a formula I've been using for many, many years, and I use it with thousands of clients over the last few years. And of course, I published this in my book called The Ultimate You, and that's exactly what I want to show you today. Now, also why this matters is that individuals, they keep waiting for motivation to strike before they take action, and they wonder why they're stuck. They wonder why they can't achieve the results that they want to achieve. So if we can overcome that, again, imagine who you're going to be. The other thing to remember is that high performers, people that achieve the most in life, whether in health and fitness, in family, in business, they aren't different to you. They just think different. They act different. You've got to understand that. You are just as awesome and just as special as the next person. The difference is how you think about the world, how you think about yourself, how you think about showing up and attacking your goals. And we're going to change that today. And so I'm going to be giving you a framework for this. I'm going to be giving you a document at the end of this. So if you hang around and you want to access this, then please feel free, because once you have this system, you can use it for life. And once you ingrain the system, you won't need to do it manually anymore. You'll do it mentally. And that's where you want to get to. You want to get to a stage where you actually run this formula in your mind, mentally and emotionally, before you attack a goal. Thus, you show up differently instantaneously. Initially, you're probably going to have to do it the slow way, manually, really think through it, feel through it, activate yourself, trigger yourself. But on the other side of those reps, there'll be a different version of you, and that's what I want you to get out of today. So, let's get into the presentation, shall we, on my beautiful Google Doc here. So understand this, motivation, it's a lie. It's a lie you've been told. It's a lie you're telling yourself every single day. You know, it isn't something that you feel or wait to feel. It is a system. It is a thought process. It is how you show up. We need to integrate this into your hard drive. We need to remember that it is a formula and it's not magic. And so, yet again, remove the whimsical thinking. Start thinking about this in a pragmatic and logical way, and you will absolutely achieve more instantaneously. This is something that will get you results tomorrow. This is something that will get you results today if you do the damn thing, right? And so, yet again, I get passionate about these topics because they've helped me in many, many amazing ways. They've helped thousands of my clients, and I want to give this to you for free today. So again, I hope you get some value out of it, and I hope you start to think differently about motivation as a whole. All right, so let's talk about the three main drivers of motivation. So these are the building blocks to triggering motivation and to make sure that it can become part of your system. Number one, it's understanding pleasure or towards motivation. You got to understand that as humans, we are ingrained to be motivated around an exciting big goal, a payoff, something that is going to reward us in many different ways. And the more ways it rewards us, the more motivated we are going to be. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to activate this within yourself and think about it in a completely different way. Number two, we have pain. That is away from motivation. We are, of course, primarily driven to avoid things that will hurt us. We are motivated to avoid feeling pain in every single way possible. So we can either let that dictate our behavior in a negative way, or we can control it and manipulate that to work for us. Now, again, that should excite you because these forces of pleasure and pain, they are working in your world, whether you see it or not, whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not. And so you can either choose to start recognizing this, owning it, and using it for your advantage, or you can ignore it and let it run your world unconsciously. I know what I choose. I choose to own it. I choose to weaponize it. I choose to make it my own so I can feed my own motivation, inspiration to achieve more, do more, and be more every single day. And then the third pillar to creating your motivation system is energy. And so energy is crucial for everything. And so as you're aware, if you're unhealthy, if you are tired, if you are not hydrated, if you are not eating right, you are going to be zapping your energy. The lower the amount of energy, the less motivation you're going to have, and the harder you are making it for yourself to create any type of stable motivation strategy day in and day out. The man or woman who has the most energy and has the best motivation strategy will win because they will outperform everybody every day of the week. Understand that. They will show up when everyone else is sleeping. They will show up when the others don't feel like it. They will show up when it is cold, when it is raining, when every other bloody excuse comes into play. So again, if you want to be that individual that separates themselves from the pack, that truly can become the best version of themselves in all ways, then you must control the foundations of energy. And of course at Change Labz, we teach so much about this in regards to how to create energy, how to look after yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And of course, from a mindset perspective, energy is the foundational piece to then stack and manipulate pleasure and pain and all these other primal motivators that move us. If you do not have energy, you will not win. If you do have energy and you can control it and know how to fuel yourself and regulate it, you will separate yourself and you will transform your life. It's as simple as that. So what I want to do today is I want to break these down so it's really, really clear. Hopefully it gives you insights. I'm going to do this as quickly as possible for you. Obviously we're on YouTube, so shout out to all our YouTube subscribers and watchers right now. But again, hopefully this gives you the insight, the edge, and takes things to another level for you. All right? So let's get into pleasure stacking and what this means. Again, there are two forms of motivation. Away from motivation, away from pain, and towards motivation, towards pleasure. The art of pleasure stacking and manipulating this primal driver is about understanding what motivates you in the positive, understanding and recognizing the rewards, the ROIs that you will receive from doing the thing. When you attack a behavior or a goal or an action or a process, having the foresight around what that long-term gain is and how that is going to feed all the different areas of your life, it is a game changer. And we use this in performance, we use this in business, we use this in sales, you use this in every part of human psychology. And so understand that success, pride, connection, freedom, wealth, contribution. All of these are positive payoffs and benefits that you will probably receive from bettering yourself, from achieving the goal, from challenging yourself, from doing the hard thing when you don't want to do it. And so we need to get really clear and very good at seeing what those things are, seeing what those payoffs are, connecting those dots so you can immediately recognize it, feel it, and then turn that into a motivation and inspiration to show up and action the behavior consistently day in and day out. This is how we get consistency in our high performance habits and rituals. So understand this, when your goals are vague, then you are not going to be motivated. When your goals are very specific and you can see the specific payoffs, that is going to trigger you and move you mentally and emotionally in a completely different way. When you have vague goals, you have low dopamine, no action. When you have specific transformative goals, you have high dopamine and high action. And so it's very important that we get really good at getting clear and precise with our goal setting. I'm going to show you a form of goal setting that I created to help my clients specifically, and I hope it helps you. It's just a slightly different way of thinking about goal setting. But again, it's designed to trigger high amounts of dopamine, high amounts of action, high amounts of clarity. And so when we can tie into the right pleasure stacking formula, we are going to create those levels of dopamine, excitement, those butterflies in the stomach that will move us. And studies show we are way more motivated around the anticipation of achieving the goal than actually achieving the goal. So it's so important with that understanding and knowledge that we make sure that we stack all the levels of payoff, pleasure, and reward that goal is going to give us to intensify the anticipation of achieving that goal. That is what's going to keep you showing up. That is what is going to keep you moving forward every day of the week. So the clearer the goal, the bigger the rewards and payoff, the stronger the why equals stronger the pull. The stronger the pull towards that goal. It means you're going to be thinking differently, feeling differently, and showing up differently when you understand how to stack the pleasure, the reward, the ROI around the outcome of the goal that you're trying to achieve. And I'm going to break this down a little bit more for you shortly. So let's talk about pain stacking. Now, as I mentioned before, we are primarily driven to avoid pain, to avoid death, to avoid anything negative happening to us. Fear drives a lot of our decisions. Now, we can use that to our favor, or we can let it ruin our lives and run our lives. Unfortunately, majority of people out there let fear dictate every decision they make in the negative. They unfortunately have it used against them rather than weaponizing it and using it for themselves. And so most avoid pain, but superhumans, high performers, they weaponize it to make it their edge, to make it their advantage. Now, we are, and again, studies show this, we are 2 times more likely to avoid pain than to move towards pleasure. So I wanted to highlight that fact because it's so important that we've got both of these pillars taken care of. Some of us are more towards motivated, some of us are more away from motivated, but generally speaking, most people are 2 times more motivated to avoid pain. So understanding that and using that is a huge advantage to you. And what I mean by that is that when you can clearly define and stack the pain that you will experience if you do not take the actions to move towards your goal, then you will start to create a rapidly strong motivation away from strategy that is going to help you move towards your goal and away from laziness, away from excuses, away from inaction. Generally speaking, you will have a lot more pain and there's a way bigger cost of inaction than there is taking action. You might be afraid of failure, you might be afraid of looking silly or getting it wrong, but the cost of inaction will be 10, 20, 100 times more painful in the long run if you do not move forward on becoming the person you want to be. And so unless we are intelligent enough to create a strategy around this and have the foresight of clearly seeing that, and more importantly, conditioning ourselves to recognize the cost of inaction, the cost of not stepping into our power, the cost of not doing the challenging things, the cost of not being lazy and listening to excuses. If we don't get really good at remembering this instantaneously, we're going to be running this unresourceful loop of really staying comfortable in our comfort zone for the rest of our lives. And that is what we have to move away from. So use this strategically. Ask these sorts of questions. What does it cost you if you don't follow through? What does it cost your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, the people around you? What does it cost you financially, mentally, emotionally? What's it going to cost you in regards to lifestyle and freedom? These are great questions you should be asking yourself that you probably don't do enough. Again, who suffers when you listen to your excuses, when you stay in your comfort zone, when you don't achieve the goal? What do you lose now and what do you lose tomorrow? What do you lose long term? Again, when you get good at asking these questions, you become a different version of yourself. You start to be the individual that stops listening to their BS excuses and starts moving towards a greater goal. The other thing about pain stacking is you got to make it personal and you got to make it sting. Most people avoid pain. Most people avoid looking at the dark reality of their poor form, poor behavior, laziness, excuses. If you can truly sit there and analyze from surface level to the worst case scenario, make it hurt, make it sting, what that pain is going to do, it's going to create urgency and it's going to create a level of action and motivation within you because you will start to avoid that scenario. You will start to avoid that worst version of yourself. And that is something that is going to be very powerful for you in the future if you start to get this right and program yourself correctly. All right, and so let's talk about energy. So energy, like I said, it's the foundation of everything. I'm obsessed with it. People always tell me about, Andy, you're just such high energy. How do you always show up with so much energy? Guess what? It is a habit and ritual that I created and that I purposefully crafted. I don't think anybody, is just naturally born with huge amounts of energy. And I say that, and I say that with the understanding that, generally speaking, most people's diets, most people's way of living and workouts aren't conducive to high energy. So most people don't just have high energy. They need to dig deeper and figure out a way of creating it. And I was the same because probably just like you, growing up, I didn't have a great diet. I didn't have a family of athletes where I just was training from a really young age and I knew the right way to think and eat and all these things. I had to create that for myself. I had to find a way to forge that within myself. So my point is that yes, we are actually born with the capacity to have a lot of energy, but through the conditioning of life, society, poor food, poor habits and rituals, behavior, most of us don't have that luxury. And some of us will have a desire to find it. And if you're watching this, it's probably you. You're probably on your journey of trying to find that difference that will give you the energy that you want. And hopefully this helps. But for me, I was in a situation where I was extremely unhealthy and had to find a better way. And through my years of study and training and showing up and just having that desire to do more, be more, achieve more, I found a strategy. I found a way to improve my energy and my health. So it then becomes second nature, but you can learn that too. So you cannot act if your body is drained. You cannot act if you are on insufficient fuel. If you're not getting the right amounts of sleep, if you are feeding your brain with rubbish and negativity, if your food is crap, if you're not hydrated, all of these things are going to drain you and slow you down. So these are the pillars that I want you to think about in regards to your energy. Now, of course, we've got other lessons on here about energy, about gut health, things like that. Obviously at Change Labz, a lot of our programs, we're teaching you exactly how to formulate your own superhuman strategy to break free of the shackles and become the better version of yourself in all ways. But I will touch on the most important parts here. Number one, sleep. Sleep is so important. You need a good sleep ritual. Consistency in bedtime and wake up time really freaking helps. The average person is going to need roughly 7 to 8 hours sleep. For me, as an example, I'll be in bed by 8:30, 9 p.m. sharp. I have really zero room to sway from that, and I will get up at 4:30 a.m. And I can do that, and then I train in the morning immediately, whether I'm doing cardio or jiu-jitsu, whatever I need to do, and then I'm charged and in the office by 6:30, ready to go and attack the day. And my energy for the day is phenomenal because I take care of all these pillars, sleep being the first one. So making sure that you wind down before bed, making sure that you calm your nervous system, you lower your cortisol, you get to bed at a similar time every night, and you wake up at a similar time, trying to get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, it's going to give you the edge. Number two, nutrition. Food and fuel is everything. Now, I'm not going to tell you which diet to choose and which diet to take. I know what works really well for me, and we share a bunch of different nutrition and diet strategies for individuals depending on their lifestyle, their goals, their beliefs, and their background. But I'll just let you know what I do. For me, I run very freaking well on paleo and carnivore. It just suits my body and my brain in extreme ways. I find that I have completely reduced my inflammation, brain fog. My energy levels are consistent. They soar. My recovery's better. Everything improves when I eat in that framework. Now, that may or may not be the best strategy for you. This video isn't about that. But I just wanted to give you the insights of around how I show up to create my energetic strategy to fuel my motivation strategy. And so the bottom line is garbage in, garbage out. Positive fuel, good fuel in, nutritious fuel, then of course, positive output, positive action. Start getting better with your nutrition. Have some freaking discipline around this. Start to rewire how you think and feel about food. I promise you, it'll change your life in a really big way. Not only physically looking better, but biologically, energetically, mentally, it'll change your life in a really big way. Movement. Move your body. Energy also comes from physiology and moving the body. Again, I haven't always been so athletic. I was very overweight at one stage in my life. I decided to change my habits and rituals. I trained once or twice a day, normally cardio in the morning or jiu-jitsu in the morning, weight training at nighttime. And I'm always getting up during the day and just moving around, even though, I sit down, I'm talking to clients all the time, working in an office, so I'm sitting down a lot. But I'm always making it a point to move the body and action that so I can create a good foundation of energy. Training is really important. Again, I'm not going to tell you to go and start doing jiu-jitsu or sprints or weight training. Everybody has a different type of training they may like better, and that's fine. As long as you're moving, as long as you are moving and it fits your lifestyle and goals, that's fine. But movement is a crucial part of creating energy. And then mental clarity. You've got to protect your focus and protect what you are letting into your mind. If you're sitting down all day watching non-stop political videos, negativity, reading the news, probably going to depress you a little bit, probably going to drain you a little bit. If you are someone that is very strategic about what they let in to their world, then you are going to be way better off for it. It's that simple. Let me just have a quick drink of water. And I probably should have mentioned this during the nutrition section. Hydration, of course. You've got to hydrate your body. Drinking water isn't just enough. You're going to have to add Celtic sea salt to your water, hydrolytes, preferably filtered water with sea salt, or reverse osmosis is going to be better. But hydration is crucial. If you're dehydrated, everything's going to suffer big time. Your energy will be massively depleted when you are deficient in minerals and you are dehydrated. So just going back to that nutrition point. Now, mental clarity, like I said, feed your brain with positive things. Things that are going to aid you and move you closer to your goals, not further away. We could talk about this for a long time. I'm clearly passionate about health, energy, performance. The bottom line is this: if you want to get good at owning your freaking motivation strategy, you've got to feel good. You've got to be motivated, because you can set the greatest goals in the world, but if you are feeling crap every day, look, you might be super stoic and tough and still do it, but you're going to be making it 10 times harder for yourself. Why not make life as easy as possible to win? Why not give yourself the best damn chance at winning through looking after your body, your mind, your energy, everything in between? Bottom line is this, team: you want to be more motivated and actually be that person that shows up even when they don't feel like it, consistently doing bigger and better things every day. You need to look after your health and energy. All right. So the big idea is this: pleasure stacking, and the pleasure part of the motivation strategy pulls you towards the goal. Pain pushes you away from laziness, excuses, comfort zone. Energy fuels you to make it easier to show up and kick ass every single day so you can win. And if you utilize all three, if you weaponize these three things for yourself, you will get the edge in ways that most of the population will never understand. That's pretty cool. So hopefully I've sold you on the benefit of understanding this, because the sooner you do, the faster you win. Full stop. All right? So let's get into the Motivation Matrix framework. I'm going to share with you the Motivation Matrix worksheet that you can actually go through this, but I want to explain to you how to fill it out. And then on the worksheet, I've given you some examples to make it easier for you as well. Aim of the game is to start using this, maybe 1, 2, 3 months, doing it around every single goal until eventually you have ingrained the framework as a thinking pattern for yourself. And all of a sudden, you're going to literally do this like a computer in your brain, so you can start to perform automatically rather than having to do it manually. That's where I want to get you to. So the first part of the Motivation Matrix framework is change goals. That is setting goals for yourself and making sure that they motivate you, making sure that they are specific, making sure that they tick a few boxes. And this is the criteria that I want you to think about. I call these change goals. If you want to read more about these, you can read my book called The Ultimate You. I've got a full chapter about change goals in there. I've got a chapter about the motivation matrix in there as well. And this is a way of setting goals that has just really helped me, and it was a framework I was using for myself, and I decided to share it with my clients. So the first tick point that you want to check when you're setting the goal for change goals is the C is challenging. The goals have got to be challenging. I'm sure you've experienced this, but no great goal is not challenging. It's as simple as that. If you are just setting easy goals, it's a to-do list. It's not a transformative goal. So the goal must be challenging, because challenge changes you in so many different ways. And anything worth having that's going to give you massive payoff is always going to be slightly challenging, if not extremely challenging. So check in. Is my goal challenging? Next is heartfelt. Heartfelt means, do you emotionally resonate with the goal? So if your goal is to lose 10 kilos in the next 3 months, or if your goal is to scale your company to X, Y, and Z, or if your goal is to find your dream girlfriend or boyfriend and have a family within this time period, these are all made up goals, of course, but you need to then reference that goal against these points to make sure that it is actually worth pursuing, worth fighting for, dying for, chasing. That way you know that you're going to show up and fight for it. So, is this goal challenging? Next one, is it heartfelt? Do I get butterflies? Does it emotionally stir me when I think about having that goal? The anticipation of that goal, does it give me butterflies? If you feel nothing around the goal, you're not going to sacrifice for it. You're not going to wake up early for it. You're not going to do the hard things to achieve the goal if you're not excited and you don't feel it. Next is actionable. Is the goal actionable? Can you actually plan out the steps immediately of how you're going to attack this goal? If it is, I'm going to transform my body and lose 10 kilos in the next 3 months, Is there specific action steps that you can take now and milestone that all the way to the end of the goal in order to achieve it? If you cannot do that, it is a sucky goal. Do not set that goal. If you can clearly identify the action steps to get to that goal, or you can get resourceful and find out how to get those action steps somewhere, then it is a goal worth chasing and fighting for because you know the process to get there. Next, is it a non-negotiable for you? Again, when you have a goal where it's a nice to have, you're not going to sacrifice. You're not going to fight for it. You're not going to show up when it's really hard. If you have fully committed and made this a non-negotiable, then that is a goal worth fighting for. So ask yourself the question, is this a non-negotiable for you? If not, maybe put your resources somewhere else. Something worth thinking about. Now, the next thing to check it against is G, which is the greater good. Is this goal serving you and the greater good? Meaning the greater good of your lifestyle, your freedom, your family, your wife, your kids, your partner, your husband, whatever it may be. If your goal affects not only you but others, you will be 10 times more motivated to show up. When it has a massive effect, ripple effect across the board on multiple different people and things, then it is a goal that you will absolutely sacrifice for. So this whole goal setting framework is about temp testing whether or not you will show up and sacrifice and do the hard work, because goals require a different version of you, a different identity. It requires hard work. So I hope you're thinking about your goals as I go through this and you're asking yourself these questions as well. And last but not least, E is for exact. Is the goal very freaking clear? Exact. Is it massive clarity? If it is a vague goal, you've already lost. If it is specific, clear, and exact, then you have a goal that you can envision, you can see, you can feel, you can milestone to get there. That again is a goal that is worth fighting for, you will sacrifice for, and you've got clarity around achieving. So when we set our change goals, I want you to write your goal down, making sure that it meets those points, those criteria points. If it's a hell yes on all those fronts, then you are pretty much guaranteed that you will fight for it, die for it, sacrifice for it, have a whole different approach towards it. And that is a goal that is very, very powerful. All right, so strategy for setbacks is the next thing that we look at here. So in regards to the strategy for setbacks, on your worksheet, I've created a strategy for setbacks because you've got to be strategic and tactical around how you approach your goals. Going into any goal thinking that it's always going to be rainbows and lollipops is ridiculous thinking. It is whimsical fantasy play. And you are better than that. You've got to be smarter than that. Because if anything has ever got in the way of you achieving the goal, then you will know that if you did not plan accordingly, it would have derailed you. We cannot let setbacks derail us. We must come prepared for the setbacks, hence the term strategy for setbacks. So what you want to think about in this quadrant of the Motivation Matrix worksheet is listing down what you feel like those common setbacks in there be and exactly what you're going to do when that obstacle arises. Such as writing down, when X happens, I will do Y. So you might have let's just go back to weight loss. It's an easy goal. Let's say that you had a weight loss goal and every time you wanted to train, it was cold in the morning, it was early, and you were too comfortable in bed so you didn't get up. That might be the setback that is most likely going to derail you. So you need to over-prepare for that. When it is early in the morning and it's cold and raining and I feel lazy, I'm going to have 3 alarms. I'm going to get up immediately no matter how I feel. I'm going to have a glass of water, a pre-workout, and get straight into it. That strategy will help you not be derailed. You need to be smart about it. So, again, I've given you examples in the Motivation Matrix worksheet. Think about what's going to hold you back, anticipate the obstacles, and plan accordingly. If you are someone that approaches your goals strategically, not just on the steps to get there, but on the strategies to avoid the obstacles, you're bulletproof. You are bulletproof. You're going to be absolutely winning way more than you're losing. That's for damn sure. So start to think differently about how you approach things. Now, let's talk about the pleasure stacking, the pain stacking, and then the next is the accountability stacking. With the pleasure stacking, you need to get really clear around what your goal is. But then what I want you to do is get really good at thinking about all the areas of life that it will impact. So let me give you an example. We'll go to the weight loss goal again, although you can use this for any goal in any category of life. So your goal is to lose X amount of weight by this date. So reward number one is that the number on the scales will go down. That's a pretty cool reward, great. But is that enough to get you up every morning at 5 a.m. to train? Is that enough to say no to the donuts and eat clean, healthy food? Is that enough to stop you going out and drinking every weekend? Probably not. Now, not only will the number on the scales go down, but then if you're smart, you'll write another reward, which is your six-pack will come out. Okay, great. That's incredible. So the number will go down and I'm going to have a six-pack. And what else? I'm going to be able to walk on the beach with my top off or in a bikini. I'm going to feel more confident. My partner's going to look at me differently. What else can we write as a payoff? My relationship will be more passionate because I'm physically more attractive. My confidence at work will be through the roof. Through that confidence, I'll be able to get a pay rise. Through that confidence, I'm going to be more sociable. I'll be better with my friends. I'll contribute more. The list goes on and on. What's another great one? If I stay consistent 5 years from now, I'm going to avoid a bunch of illnesses that most people will have. I'll avoid cognitive decline. I'll probably avoid cancers and other sicknesses, inflammation. All of these things you can list and start to stack. And all of a sudden, from, okay, the number on the scale goes down, to my whole freaking life is changing immediately, and the future me is a million times better off. That is a pleasure stack or a motivation stack that will fuel you every day of the week. I hope that's really clear. Now, if that's not clear and you want more insights, comment below, ask questions. I'm happy to go deeper. But the point is this: one reward or one ROI from a goal is cool. But if you can stack 20 of those bad boys, then that is going to spur you on and make you do things you never thought possible. It is that simple. It's like climbing Mount Everest for $1 or $1 million. If you know you're going to get $1 after climbing Mount Everest and you can tell people that you climbed Mount Everest, okay, that's pretty cool. But if you know that you're going to get $1 million and the significance and pride of telling everyone you climb Mount Everest, which one is going to get you up that mountain faster? Which one is going to get you to do things that you never thought possible? Of course, the bigger reward. So the point is this: weaponize your pleasure stack. Make it profound. Make it motivating. Make it intense. The better off you'll be. Now, on the flip side, pain stacking is exactly the same, but in the negative. So what will it cost you if you don't lose this weight in this amount of time? Well, you'll put more weight on. So the scale will go up. You'll feel disappointed in yourself. And your belly and weight will increase. Okay, so you're going to feel less confident, which means you're going to go out less. You may not meet the partner of your dreams. You may not have the confidence to show up at work. Your energy is going to be worse, so you're going to be less productive. Maybe it's going to mean you're going to lose money and you won't get a pay rise, or you may get fired because you suck so much at work that because you have no energy. You're so lethargic. Maybe your self-worth completely drops, so you become antisocial. Maybe you start to, unfortunately, get dis-ease, inflammation, cognitive decline. The list goes on. Maybe you get so sick that you die, God forbid. And if that happens, again, that should scare you. Stack it as dramatic and painful as possible to the worst degree, because you need to see the reality and the consequences of your actions or your inactions. And the better you get at this, the more active in your development you will be. And so I hope that's really clear. Stack the pleasure, stack the pain, create this gap and be the catalyst to your own success. Now, number 5 on the motivation matrix framework is the accountability stack, because we've gone through an incredible goal. We are creating a strategy for setbacks. We've weaponized our pleasure, weaponized our pain. We understand that energy is the foundation, so we're working on our health. But when times get tough, sometimes we need accountability. And I like to always challenge my clients to stack accountability. So what we do in regards to this is we look at the levels of accountability. Now, level 1 is accountability to self. Now, if you are accountable to yourself, at the end of the day, you need to get good at being accountable to yourself. The person that keeps promises to themselves really loves themselves the most. The more you keep your promises to yourself, the more confidence you're going to have, the stronger you're going to be mentally, emotionally, physically. Sometimes in the beginning, when you're learning this, though, you need extra levels of accountability. So my quick feedback is this: keep a promise to yourself, set a goal to be that person, and work hard to show up for yourself in that way. But if you're not good at that, and you've got a track record of breaking promises to yourself, you're going to need to supercharge it. So the next level of accountability is telling this goal and getting someone else to keep you accountable, a mentor or a partner. So again, you could get a mentor, a friend, or a partner, someone to hold you accountable to your goal. You say, hey, this is what I want to achieve. It's really important to me. I need to achieve this goal. When I don't achieve it, or when I don't show up for myself, I would like you to hold me accountable to being better. I'd like you to give me feedback. That is a second tier lock on accountability. And then the third tier is group accountability. That could be a community group. That could be a bunch of your friends. That could be, again, a lot of our clients at Change Labz, they will use our network and our community group to hold them accountable to a goal. Because the more people that hold you accountable, the more social pressure there is, or the more pressure there is. And it's good. It's e-stress. It's not negative stress. So that level of accountability will hold you in line more so than just keeping this quiet to yourself if you have a track record of not keeping promises to yourself. And a bonus one is mass social accountability. You could just post this on social media, say, everybody, I'm setting this goal for myself. I'm going to be showing up every morning. I'm going to be posting my workouts and sharing my journey, because I'd like everybody to hold me accountable to this goal because it's that important to me. Now, you can imagine if you have a commitment to yourself, a commitment to someone else, a commitment to a group, and then mass social commitment, if you've got all those levels of accountability, think about how differently you're going to show up towards your goal. So we can stack our accountability just like we can pleasure stack, pain stack, and that will supercharge everything from here on out. All right, so let me just fix up my beautiful little Word doc here for you as I continue my journey. So this is my challenge for you. I know this has been a short, quick, punchy video. Hopefully I have explained this philosophy and this method accurately enough for you. But of course, we really deep dive into these formulas and these strategies at Change Labz and in our programs. But I really wanted to share this with you watching, and hopefully this serves you. Feel free to share this with anyone that needs to own their motivation a little bit more. And although this seems very simple, it is very profound. And when you can turn this into a process in your mind, you're going to start showing up completely differently for your motivation day in and day out. So my challenge to you is this: download the Motivation Matrix worksheet, use it to your advantage, fill this out around every goal you have as long as it meets the change goal criteria. Stack the pleasure, stack the pain. Practice getting good at seeing the multiple reward and the multiple cost of inaction. When you can stack those in your mind every day around every decision that you make, you are weaponizing these primal functions in your favor. It'll change your life. And of course, when you get a strategy for setbacks and you lock in accountability to this magnitude, everything will change for you around your goals and what you achieve. So ask yourself, which is harder? The cost of inaction or the cost of actually stepping into the best version of yourself? Hopefully, watching this, you're someone that knows you deserve more You know you can be more, and you just need to tweak a few things in your mindset and in your habits and rituals in your life to take you to that next level. And so, like I said, although this is simple, it's completely profound and will absolutely change the way you see the world if you let it help you. Now, I'm going to just quickly share with you the Motivation Matrix spreadsheet so you can see what it looks like. And of course, from there, you'll be able to take action and use it yourself. All right. So you should see right now on the screen. All right, there you go. The Motivation Matrix worksheet. This is the worksheet that you're going to be able to download. At the top, you set your change goal. Remember, challenging, heartfelt, actionable, non-negotiable, greater, good, and exact. Make sure that change goal is meeting that criteria. You then write down your potential strategy for setbacks in the left-hand side, and then the corresponding strategy on the right-hand side to overcome the bottleneck. On the left-hand side, you'll then go through your pleasure stack. On the right-hand side, you'll go through your pain stack. And down the bottom, you're going to write down your 3-lock accountability strategy to make sure you absolutely nail this. And then below this, I've then done an overview example of how you would fill this out. So you've got a bit of a reference point to make this extremely successful for you, okay? So, with all that said, I hope you've enjoyed this mini masterclass on the Motivation Matrix. I really hope it helps you. It's a Sunday morning at the moment. I was just excited to come in. I just whipped this up on a quick Google Doc because I was brainstorming how I could help you move forward past some of those bottlenecks. And honestly, this is like the foundation of winning, the foundation of you getting better, the foundation of personal development. And so if you can start to own this influences all of your behavior, all of your actions, all of your habits and rituals, and it really will change your life. And so if you enjoyed this, I would love for you to share it. Like, comment, subscribe. I really hope you got some value from this, and share this with someone that needs it. Share this with someone that you know deserves to do more, be more, achieve more. And hopefully with this tweak of strategy, it becomes second nature for them and they end up becoming the best version of themselves. I hope this helped. We'll see you on the next masterclass. Enjoy.